Hello, hello, hello. It is Friday. Happy Friday and Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Oh my God, it's a brand new year, y'all. And I'm praying that all the negatives of 2020 are long behind us. I welcome 2021 with open arms, ready for personal and professional growth and increase, not just for me, but for each and every one of you listening and your families as well. Coming to you from the DMV area, Washington, D.C. to be exact. Shout out to my folks in the DMV, D.C., Washington, Virginia, Maryland. Welcome to Camouflage Beauty. Every Friday at 5 p.m., you get me and a glass of wine. So for the month of January, we're drinking Duplin. That's Duplin. This is my go-to wine, for real. Duplin is smooth. It's affordable. I'm talking $10 or less per bottle. Alcohol content is 10.5 to about 12.5%, and that's good enough for me. So Duplin offers a military discount, and you know we support those who support us. So I have posted the information on my Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Feel free to check them out, but don't forget to let Duplin know you heard about them on Camouflage Beauty. If you're celebrating a birthday for the month of January, happy birthday to you from all of us here at Camouflage Beauty. Over here, we celebrate birthdays all month long. Feel free to tag us on Instagram, Twitter, or the book and let us know that you're celebrating and send us a picture of your big day so we can celebrate with you. So we're kicking off the month of January with all things new, all types of new experiences for us as military women. And today's episode is about retirement. So we're starting with retirement because we know it requires a certain level of planning. We want those of you who are considering retirement to take some tips from our guest. And we hope that something is said or you hear something today that you can add to your toolboxes that will help prepare you for this extremely important transition. So joining us today on the platform is a very special guest of mine, someone who I know personally. I am absolutely excited for her to share her story with you. And if you stay tuned, I promise you'll hear all the things that you need to know for retirement planning. We'll be right back. You're listening to Camouflaged Beauty, a podcast of shared experiences for military women. Okay, welcome back, y'all. Joining us on the platform today, I am excited to have Camille Thomas. Camille is a single mother of two daughters, 23 and 15 years old. She also has a bonus son who's 21 years old and also serving in the world's greatest Air Force. Camille has served for 25 years. She's an author. She's a co-host of the podcast Sanity Check with Seth and Camille. Sanity Check is available on Facebook every Saturday morning, and it focuses on the 4 pillars of resiliency. So you can catch them on Saturday mornings on Facebook. Don't forget to check them out. Camille loves to dance. She cooks, she bakes, she travels. She's about self-development and serving others. Listen, this woman does it all. So welcome, Camille, to the platform. How are you today?
Thank you for such a warm welcome. I'm doing great today. I'm glad to be a part of this podcast. And I just want to say thank you for having me on. So, yeah, things are good. How about for yourself?
Absolutely. I can't complain. You know, it is a brand new segment for me. And so I'm excited that you decided to come on here and share a little bit of your experience and your insights with our listeners today. So let's talk about retirement, right? Because that's the goal. Yeah. That's the goal for all of us. So when did you know it was time?
So when I started doing a lot of self-development, personal development, leadership development, I really felt like let me say this, the Air Force I love. The Air Force has given me so many tools, so much experience, giving me opportunities that I never would have had. So I have nothing bad to say about that. But sometimes when you start growing, you can feel like you're in a box. You can't breathe. You can't, and I just felt like I was constantly fighting to be me. There was something that was bigger inside of me that was burning. And, at one point, I literally was at my desk, and don't laugh at me, you guys, but I got a phone call from somebody that asked me to do something that I felt like was ridiculous. And I literally said, you know what? I don't have to take this anymore. I don't have to take this anymore. I hung up the phone. I picked up I logged into my computer, and I went to hit the button. And then I said, hold on, wait a minute. Let me call the DAV.
That's not making any emotional decisions.
No emotional decisions. So I called him. I told him what happened. It was a very short conversation. As soon as I hung up the phone, I went and I hit the button. I filled out my little application for retirement, and that was it. It literally happened like that. It's just, I felt like I wasn't growing too much where I was, and I needed an exit. So I love my Air Force time, but it was time to go.
Right. No, I hear that. So with all that said, we know it wasn't an emotional decision, but after you hit that button, how did it feel? Did you have cold feet?
I did not. As soon as I hit that button, okay, let me just say this before. I tried 3 times before, previously, when I was, before I made senior, I was going to retire. And at that point, I had some reservations, but I was like, you know what? I want to do it. 3 times I got rejected for my retirement. Yes. And so I stayed around. I made senior and I deployed, did some great things. And then this time I had such a peace. When I knew it was time, and I have not regretted it one day since. I have not had cold feet one day since. I just know that it was the right time for me to do it, and I did. And I'm grateful for where I'm at. So I did not have cold feet at all after that. For the 4th time hitting the button.
I guess 4th time is the charm in this case, right? But now that you've done it, so tell us what that first day, that first week of retired life is really like.
Man, so I didn't know what to do. I got up still, it took a long time. I was still getting up, at normal time, 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning, getting ready. And so my schedule was the same. My body schedule was the same, but the level of responsibility was gone. Not just, because I took some leave first, but I knew I wasn't going back. And so it took a while for me to adjust to say, you know what, I don't have a job to go to. I have to figure out, I'm not that type of job, and I was on leave. So I have to rearrange my schedule and start living like this is the end. So the first week was very, very hard. Getting up all the time, trying to figure out what to do next, because for 25 years, the Air Force has told me what to do every single day.
Right.
And so it took I'd say about a month or so to just adjust to that. And then, I had some surgeries I had to go through, and then my retirement ceremony. And so it's still kind of trying to find that balance,
Right.
What am I supposed to be doing every single day outside of, my skill bridge? But yeah, it's a little different. It's a little different.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say is it took about a month for it to really sink in. Like, wait a minute, my alarm still goes off at 5 o'clock in the morning, but my level of responsibility really, really has changed a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. So I reset my alarm to 7 o'clock.
Oh, so you sleeping for extra 2 hours. Nice. Very nice. So the ceremony. So you mentioned that retirement ceremony. I think, when I think about retirement, I always think of the ceremony like, oh my God, am I going to be able to thank everybody? Oh my God, you have so much to say. This is your last time being on the platform to say something. Tell us, how was that? How was the planning? How was the ceremony itself?
So because of this COVID, I was not going to have a ceremony. And, it was something that I really wanted to do because my father was retired. He's retired Air Force. And he always was like, I want you to do better than I did. And so he would always tell me how proud he was. But I realized that the only Air Force ceremony that he's ever attended was my promotion to senior. So I flew him out to make sure. And during that time, I have planned and organized so many retirement ceremonies, it's ridiculous. And then mine came, and it was totally different. And leaving that to someone else, one, I didn't really want one. I was just kind of trying to exit a little bit quietly. They wouldn't let that happen. And then to have somebody else just do it and, me just show up. It was a little bit difficult. Mm-hmm. But that day, when I got up there, I'm like, man, I got so nervous. I said, I've done this 100 times, but never for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so my emotions kind of overwhelmed me a little bit. you have all these things that you want to say. You look back on your career and you're like, man, I've been through all this stuff. And in that moment, or the night before, I decided I didn't want to do any of that. I wasn't going to bring up not a bad thing, anything. I was just going to express my gratitude for my service, being able to serve against all odds. I wasn't supposed to be in here. I wanted to thank the people who were instrumental to me. I wanted to thank my friends. So if you're planning, CC, I'm telling you, write down their names. I have my phone up there, kind of trying to go through to make sure I hit those very, very important people in my life. I know I missed tons of them, but again, we didn't have the time to do it. So it was bittersweet. As soon as they said, Camille Thomas, Senior Master Sergeant, retired. OMG. Everything bubbled up. I'm like, why am I crying during just that part? I thought I was right during all the rest of it, but it was when they said the word retired that it hit me like a ton of bricks. And, but I was just so grateful for everyone who showed up. I was grateful for my family being able to be there because, as I said, during that time, a lot of them have health issues and things like that. And we didn't know if they would be here, literally, to be able to attend. So to have all of my siblings there, my mom and my dad, my nieces, nephews, it was just amazing for me. It was amazing for me. So it's hard to describe that feeling, but I wasn't ready for it.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that your whole family was able to be there. And then to be there in the middle of a pandemic. Okay, so this is the elephant in the room. All right. Mm-hmm. So most people that I knew that were playing with the idea of retiring during 2020, they was like, not right now. I'm going to wait off a little bit because the job market's not looking too good. I don't know what this pandemic is going to do for me. And so retiring is a big deal anyway, but to take this transition in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, did that weigh on you at all? Did you have, that's where the cold feature kicked in and be like, can I come back,
Yeah. No, that actually never crossed my mind. Wow. It never crossed my mind. I tell a lot of people, at some point when I started my personal growth journey, God put it on my heart just to start my business. So I did all the legal stuff to get a business up and running, even though I had no idea what I was doing, no idea where it was going to go. I just had this overwhelming pull to do it, to legalize this business. And then I started to really kind of hone my craft. I had to sit still a little bit and think about what I wanted to be when I grew up. The Air Force had been good to me for, over 2 decades at that point. And so I started taking every opportunity I could to grow myself and to point myself in the direction of what I wanted to do when I retired. And so when I finally retired, I just know, and it was confirmed. A lot of people were like, why are you still here? You've done so much. And, a lot of people were like, you didn't get the recognition that you deserved. To me, it wasn't about that. It's about impact. But they were like, you need to go and be you. And there's so much greater for you. I taught a class for my fellow senior NCOs, and one guy was like, I think you missed your calling. And I said, nope, I'm about to walk into it. Nice. And it was just confirmation that I know that. And the other thing I kept hearing in my spirit was, God's got you, God's got you. And that following week after that happened, about 4 people just came out of me and was like, girl, God got you. And I was like, and so I never had that, it's the middle of a pandemic. All I felt was there's something bigger and better out there for me. And I'm already walking in it. I just have to continue to take the steps to build. Now it's the building portion of it, to build this business to be what it's supposed to be. And so the thought of pandemic never occurred because I just wanted to walk out my purpose. I just knew that there was something else out there for me. And I just wanted to give back. And so the thought of that never even crossed my mind. Now that you're asking me that, never even crossed my mind.
Well, I will say you're braver than me because, yes, we all strive to get there, but I don't know if I'd be able to do it in the middle of a pandemic. I'd have been like, hold up, y'all have to keep me a little bit longer. I'm not ready to leave just yet. But so kudos to you for that, for sure. So now that you're retired, you look back, I know you had amazing people working with you and for you for many years, but is there anything you wish, that last thing you wish you would have done prior to retiring?
I really tried to leave everything out on the table. There were a couple of jobs that I had applied for, special duties that I say hired and fired for, but I was never actually fired. I was hired, but they had to rescind them all due to either time on station, due to my selective reenlistment bonus, or due to a DRO. So I was supposed to be a instructor, NCOA instructor. I was supposed to do defense attaché. So I had got hired for a few different jobs. Defense attaché is the one that I'm a little hurt about. I got an assignment to Brazil, actually.
Oh, nice.
And the Air Force wouldn't curtail my assignment for 2 months. My training start date was September, but my DROS was November, and they refused to curtail it. And so the functional said no. And so that was one of my biggest regrets. I tried to do it for years after, and it just didn't work out for me, but I see that God had bigger plans for me. So that's really my only regret, because I really was that one that, I kind of pushed the envelope. I stood up, by the grace of God, I made it this long because I stood up for what I believe was right, and I tried to give my best and my all wherever I was. And so when I left, I really felt like I left it all out on the table. I could have done more if I would have stayed, of course, and I would have done more if I would have stayed. But I really tried to leave no rock unturned, and I gave them a lot. So I don't have any regrets. I don't think there's,
Nice. No, thank you for that. I mean, you worked all the way up till the very end, and it shows that you loved what you do and love to serve. And we know there's so many different ways to serve. And so we thank you for still serving even today, although you've taken the uniform off, for sure.
Yes, thank you.
So, when we talk about retirement sometimes, especially if you're like me, you're a workaholic, I don't want to admit that, but sometimes I can be a workaholic. Is there anything that you would tell our listeners right now who are considering retirement that they should probably stop doing right now? Stop it.
Yes, worrying about things that take up your time that don't add value to your life. And that includes people. I'm a workaholic as well. I sacrificed a lot of relationships and sometimes my family for the mission. I didn't know how to shut it off. And one thing I learned was at the end of the day, no matter whether you do, a year or 30 years, this comes to an end. And so you have to decide what's important in your life. And you have to decide who is important in your life. And you have to make time for those people, because you might have your Air Force career now, but those people may not be around when you sacrifice too much of them. And so there was a lot of personal loss that I experienced, in marriages and things like that. I'm not afraid to say it. I was married and divorced 3 times while I was in the Air Force. And I am a workaholic. And at some point, your kids need you. My kids were suffering, and, because I was always gone. Thank God my ex-husband really stepped in when I had to do the last 2 deployments over the last couple of years, and took care of my children. But it was like, Mom, when are you going to quit your job? Like, we don't see you anymore. You're always gone. You're working late and things like that. And then when they started having some emotional issues, then that really helped solidify my decision to retire, because my family needed me. Mm-hmm. And, there are people that you don't know if they're going to be around, like my father. He's aging. He, unfortunately, is battling cancer right now. My sisters have like Crohn's and have almost lost their lives a couple times. My brother had heart issues and he almost died. And, my niece is the same way, and she's been through and almost lost her life several times over the last few years. So you really have to decide who and what is important. And if it's not adding value to you, it's not strengthening your relationships, it's not putting you in the direction of your purpose and your destiny, then maybe you need to let some of that go. That work will be there tomorrow. You know what I mean? If they give you a suspense of today, unless it's a last minute tasker, usually you got about a week to 2 weeks, right, before they have to get it in. So there are some times where you just have to communicate that today, I can't do it. You only have so much time in a day and so much energy. You have a capacity. And if you reach that and you keep trying to push, you break. Something has to give. Right. So I would say figure out what's important, during your day. Prioritize those things, including yourself Even during the day, I would have to take the first 30 minutes of the day or first hour. I would come in early so I could do everything that I needed to do for me before I began taking care of people in the mission. And you have to prioritize those tasks so you don't get inundated with the things that don't really matter in the end. So that's what I would say. But, you got to recognize who's in your corner.
No, that's excellent advice. I think I'm going to write that one down and put it on my cubicle and on my supervisor's computer screen, too, so he can leave me alone. Shout out to my supervisor, Senior Master Sergeant Carter. Yeah, because he's always pushing me, which is a good thing. But sometimes you're right. You do need to prioritize. So I think about this, too, when I think about retiring. You see those retirees and the BX and sometimes the DFAC and everywhere you go around base, right? And I always wonder, do they really miss us? So for you as a new retiree, has it kicked in yet? Do you miss us?
I do. I do miss you. I miss everybody I served with, that going to work, that familiarity, for me, it wasn't easy to transition from, Sergeant Thomas to Camille, because I've always been Camille. That's the one thing I never wanted to lose, was my personal identity. So off duty and things like that, I'm always Camille. And I remember my commander saying to me, it's hard for people when they transition because, the rank is not there and you go. And I said, well, sir, if you know me, you know that I've always been Camille. Like, I don't want to be called this. I want people to know who I am. So very rarely do people even know that I'm in the military unless I tell them, or they see me in uniform and they're like, you're in the military? I say, yes, but that's my job. That's my career, but this is who I am, so I never really lost that. However, I do miss the benefits. Priority in line. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I know that soon my blue card will be coming in. And then, when I start traveling, then I don't get those free bags and I don't get that head of the line privilege either. And, so there's so many things that I miss about that. But the people, I miss the people. They have become my family over the years. I love serving, and that just doesn't mean in my job, but that is serving people in every capacity. So I do miss it. I miss having those people surrounding me every single day and being able to bounce ideas off of each other and create things and grow things and see how your hard work has, translated into an effective mission. I'm aircraft maintenance. So I miss the people tremendously, but
absolutely,
they're a phone call away and they do call me a lot. So
I'm sure, because with 25 years of experience, you still have to tap into that, whether you have the uniform on or not. So I'm glad they still have that lifeline to be able to reach out to you if they need to.
Absolutely.
So the magic question here is, if you had the opportunity to do this all over again, so right now you're talking to your younger self.
Yes.
If you had the opportunity to do this all over again, knowing everything that you know now, would you do it?
Without a shadow of a doubt, never a question, I would do it all over again. It has been rewarding in so many ways I can't even explain. I have lived in several countries. I have visited even more, dozens more. I've been able to do it on the military's dime. My children have been able to experience the world and gain an appreciation of people. They really look at life a lot differently than their friends who have never been anywhere, because they've seen what other people see on TV in real life. And so they have this real life connection and they're able to say, no, that's not what it is, and their vocabulary is so developed because we had to learn, a lot of different languages going all over. I have grown tremendously as a person. I used to be pretty shy, and I'm pretty outgoing now. Most people don't understand I am an introvert because I'm always, out and doing and talking.
Right.
But I come home and it's mousy here. That's where I do my best thinking and stuff like that. But they have given me tools, and I have created a family I would not have otherwise created. I believe that I'm able to walk out my purpose the way that I am because of the fires that the Air Force has put me through. I had to learn how to navigate when the conditions were not favorable for me. I challenged myself. I pushed myself. I found out what I was made of. I found out what my, at the times, whatever my breaking points were. I learned a lot about myself and how much I can really do and who I really am. And it stretched me to be, in ways that it's hard to just say on this podcast, but I would, without a shadow of a doubt, do it all over again. Even through all the hurt, the pain, I would do some things differently, if I had the knowledge that I have now.
Sure.
But I definitely would go through it again, because it really made me who I am. I believe that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know how you could be a part of the force of any branch of service and it not completely transform your life. So I 100% agree. But those 25 years, man, 25 years is a long time. It's a long time. And I'm sure you have seen numerous changes. I'm talking about uniform changes, policy changes. And you've probably seen some things change and then change back to what they used to be at one point. And how did those changes, if any, impact your decision? Was there ever one change where you're like, you know what, this is one of those times where, you know what, I just can't get behind this one. I can't do it. I got to go. It's my time to exit. We younger folks.
Yes. No, because I'm pretty adaptable, to be honest. There were some things that, it took me a time. I hate going through these EPR changes, and then oh my gosh. And then it's so subjective, and it's this person's preference. And so I learned to communicate that. Is this your preference or is this what the book says? If it's just your preference, I'm not going through all this again, And so is it going to get me where? Just let it go and let's see how it rocks. You know what I mean?
Right.
So those types of things, awards decks, EPRs, that's the stuff that irritated me the most because it really doesn't capture who a person is. So I think that those things could be done differently. I'm for the narrative, which hasn't, come out yet, but I'm really for the narrative and making it personal, because there's something about a person's character that doesn't quite come across in an EPR in the way that they want it written. But other than that, I'm one of those adaptable. You roll with the punches. I do press the envelope because that's how we get change. So, I would send up all those policy changes. I would look up the AFIs and see the POCs. And if I had a suggestion or, a situation with when my troops came up that I felt like we should address, I would email the POC. And there were some changes that came out of that, whether it was TOs or whatever. And so, but I really learned to work within the AFI, the confines of the AFIs, TOs, regulations, but think a little bit outside of the box, so that we can get some things moving and changing. So, but I've learned you cannot be, anchored on anything, because every day things are changing. And if you get anchored on one thought, one position, you'll lose out, you'll break, because it's going to continue. You'll be having that chain that's anchored down, but everything else is moving around you. And eventually that thing going to wear out and you know what I mean? So you might as well get with the program and then continue to implement. And then when you see something that you can do differently or better, then you go through the proper channels and get it changed if you can. So that's kind of how I approached those changes. But I wasn't gonna get another uniform though. I'm not buying another uniform. This was it, and I was glad I deployed last year so I could get my free ones, because I wasn't gonna buy none. I wasn't gonna buy none.
You know what? They probably gonna change right back to the BDUs. I support it. I still got some BDUs in there somewhere, right?
I got BDUs, ABUs, the deserts. I got all kind of stuff. I got 5 uniforms, I think, but. But I ain't doing no more. I'm done.
I hear that. All right. Well, so much, man. You've shared so much with us that I think is going to be useful to our listeners today. So this is your opportunity, ma'am. 25 years of faithful, dedicated, hard service to our country. I mean, a lot of people do not make it to your position. So we thank you for that. Now, if you could just share with us your last bit of advice, whatever that may be, for anyone in our position, still in this uniform, considering retirement, scared to retire, definitely scared to do it during the pandemic, scared of everything, or scared of trying something new, or just ready and say, you know what, I ain't buying no more uniforms. I'm not going through another change, whatever it may be. Share with us your last bit of insights.
Okay, so the first thing I would say about those considering retirement, trust yourself. A lot of times we don't trust ourselves to be able to go out and to provide for ourselves or do something on our own because we've been given so much over the years. We get comfortable. Trust yourself. Trust the skills that you have, the abilities. Trust the experience that the Air Force has given you, because you got to face it. At one point or another, you're going to have to do it anyway. So you might as well do it boldly. Go out there, trust yourself. Don't keep yourself in a situation that may not be good for you. The second thing I would say is, don't minimize your impact. I say that a lot. Airmen can have a greater impact on people or on the Air Force in certain areas than a chief or a colonel can. It doesn't matter at what rank you're at. Do what you can where you are. Do it to the best of your ability and don't minimize your impact on people. I say, some people are the ones that till the soil. Some people are the ones that plant the seeds. Some come across and, cover it up. Some water it so that they can get, all that good soil and water and everything to make it grow. Some people, once it's busted out or whatever, they come and they pick the weeds. Some people have to come and, they do all of the trimming and pruning and everything like that. And some people are there to reap the benefits. However, it took a little bit of everybody, and you never know where you were in that process. So don't minimize the impact that you have on people. Make it good. The last thing I will say is stop comparing yourself to other people. We always want to say this person didn't do this person didn't do that, but you never know what a person is doing behind the scenes. When you get caught up in the comparative mode, you miss out. You miss out on your chance to grow. You start looking at everything bad and you miss all of the good things that are happening around you. Don't do that. Don't compare yourself to anybody but you the day before. You know where your shortfalls lie, and try to work to make those better. But at the end of the day, those that have a negative experience in the Air Force or in any service, things can negatively or happen to us negatively. But we choose how we respond to it. And you can turn a negative into a positive because there's always a lesson to be learned. And at every juncture where something happened to me, that person may think they were hurting me, but they were helping me and they were positioning me for the next chapter of my life or the next assignment or the next position that I had to be in. And people would often say, how do you know that? Like, what did you have? Like, what kind of say, ooh, you wouldn't believe the career that I had. Can't make this stuff up. But every time somebody tried to do something to hurt me or something like that, it only helped me become a better me, help me to become a better me. So stop looking at all the bad things. Look at the good things. What did you learn? You can always take away a learning point. And if you do that, those three things, you can walk away and say, I had a great career despite anything else that has happened to you. So those are some things that and make sure that you prioritize what's important to you. Prioritize what's important to you because the Air Force will end, but those same people may not be there. So the what and who. So that's, I think, what would be my last points. But just have fun. This is a fun place to be. People that you meet, the experiences you gain, the places you can go. Don't be afraid to get out of this country. Don't get deployed and never go off base. Take advantage of all the opportunities. We go to places that people only dream of, and you don't walk outside the gates of the compound. What a waste. What a waste. You rob yourself of so many experiences. So take advantage of all of the opportunities that the Air Force gives you because they give you a lot. A lot of times people think it's burdensome, except when you find out that you need it on the outside and you got to pay thousands of dollars for that little CPT that you had to do every year. Mm-hmm. Then you're like, man, I should have paid attention. Mm-hmm. So take advantage of all that it has to offer you. But I think that's about it, though. I can go on and on, but I won't because I know we have time, time limit. But I think those are some of the key things and important things that I've taken away from the Air Force. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, very wise words of wisdom. Everybody listening, I hope that you were able to get some information to add to your toolbox. My guest today, you can check her out on Saturday mornings on Sanity Check on Facebook, Sanity Check with Seth and Camille, Senior Master Sergeant, retired Camille Thomas. It's been my absolute pleasure to interview today. So you can say bye to our guests. Thank you so much for coming on the platform of Camouflage Beauty, and so you can share your story with all these women out here listening.
Well, thank you guys so much for, Cece, thank you for having me on here. For one, it is an honor and a pleasure to be here. And thank you all who are listening. This thing comes to an end. So, we have to make some choices now. But I hope that there was something that can help you along the way. I hope that you guys have wonderful careers or afterlives for those of you who have retired. But thank you so much for just taking the time to listen to me today. So y'all have a wonderful one.
All right, y'all, you heard it here on Camouflage Beauty. That was Senior Master Sergeant Camille Thomas, retired. Senior Master Sergeant, retired Camille Thomas, telling you all about retirement. Her information is shared on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Again, don't forget to check her out on Sandy Check. It's Friday. Happy birthday again to all you guys in January. And don't forget to check us out next week, where we have another enlightening episode about all things new in our career here as military and veteran women. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. You can find us on the book, IG, or Twitter. Email us your stories to camobeautystories@gmail.com. That's it for me, y'all. Until next time, be kind to your body, soul, and mind.